Hello boys and girls, welcome to my first YouTube video. We are going to be looking at doing a restoration or rolling restoration on an E36 328i Sport manual. The car is, or has been in my possession for about a year. I'll tell you the full backstory later in the video, but essentially as a bare minimum it needs engine replacement, a bit of welding, probably a few other bits and pieces, maybe some brakes, stuff like that. But the long and short is it needs a new engine and a little bit of welding, and then we should be able to get it back on the road. We're not going to go too crazy and look at doing too many mods or doing a full-blown nut and bolt restore at this stage. We just want to get the car working, get it back on the road, see what it drives like, and go from there. So let's have a quick look around the car. So this is the car. So I believe it's a 1995 328i manual, factory spec with LSD. I don't know if it's still in there, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it is. If it is in there, it's a bonus. If it isn't, so be it. These come with a stock LSD or diff ratio of a 293, so they're pretty long. They're good for fuel economy and motorway cruising, but a bit of a killjoy for a fast road car, etc, etc. But yeah, so quick look around it. It's a bit of a 10-footer. Most of the body panels are okay. I've got that lower trim that's down there. This seal's quite rusty, hence the cover being off it. I've had a bit of a poke around in there. There is some holes, so that's going to need some attention. Nothing too drastic. The seal design on these is quite simple. And then the rear end, obviously you can't see the passenger side at the moment. That's the better side, so you can kind of see it at its wear. So there's a little bit of scabbing down here. I'm assuming it's been painted at some point in its life. It is raining, so you're not going to get the full picture, but yeah, I assume it's been painted at some point. A little bit rusty down there, but it's generally still fairly solid on the rear arches, so either a candidate for cut out and replace, or a set of over fenders, something like that. But yeah, the real elephant in the room is the engine. So I bought the car non-running from a trader friend who had purchased it from a customer who had some work done to it because I believe it had overheated, but the mechanic who did the work didn't do a great job. He actually timed the engine up wrong and it bent every single inlet valve. So I then purchased it, sourced a new head, gasket, etc, etc, put a new head on it, and the torque procedure for the head bolts is 25 newton meters, then 90 degrees, then a further 90 degrees. Well, we got 25 newton meters into every single bolt apart from these two here, and it stripped the threads from the block. So that engine essentially is scrap. It could be rebuilt, we could do some work on it at a later date, but for the moment I'm just going to rip it out and stash it away. And we've got a fresh 2.8 engine tucked in waiting somewhere under here. So that is the plan. So we're going to get the engine in at some point. First things first is to obviously get this old engine out. There's lots of good usable bits on it. All the cooling systems have already been overhauled. As you can see, I was sort of halfway through doing the head change. That's kind of why it's half stripped. But yeah, obviously as the threads pulled out the block, it was a no-go. There's lots to do and lots of bits we can be cracking on with. I've also noticed there is some rust festering, but what I have done is sourced a cutout from a donor vehicle. So at some point, probably when the engine's out, we can address that. We'll cut that out, make a nice repair panel from the donor piece, and then get that painted. There'll be a few other bits and pieces we do once the engine's out. We'll look at doing some mods to improve the vehicle, stuff like removing the clutch delay valve. Some bits and pieces need complete replacement, like the scuttle panel, but that's still available for BMW. And yeah, so we'll just go over it, get it in there, get it running, tart up what we can, not go too crazy, try and keep it a simple, cheap budget build. As we all know, these cars are getting expensive, bits are getting harder to find, and you know, it's becoming harder and harder to get a hold of one without spending thousands of pounds. So let's see if we can do it without breaking the bank, and make ourselves a nice little daily driver, yeah, see if we can save this old girl. In another time she'd be a good candidate to break up for bits, because she's got lots of good stuff, but with it being a manual sport, there's no cap markers on the vehicle or anything like that. It's quite a good, honest shell. I've been in contact with one of the previous owners, so yeah, it's a good, honest car. Some good positive things are on sunroof. The only mods that we can see is at some point someone's put black interior in it. I actually got it with no door cards, but I have door cards, so I managed to source them, so I've got some clean door cards. But yeah, mod wise, all I can see is it's got a set of budget coilovers and the black leather seats, which, I mean, they're a good OEM upgrade, so that's fine. Budget coilovers will probably go in the bin at some point. We'll get something a bit nicer on there, maybe some BCs or something like that. But yeah, nothing, it's not been molested too much yet. I think it has got a Scorpion back box, which is okay, not too loud, or certainly if you've got a set of original cats on there, they're not too loud. So yeah, let's dig into it, and we'll get that engine ripped out, show you the process, and then once you've pulled it out and had a look and see what's in there and what we need to address, we'll make a plan of action and get into it, and also look at maybe what aftermarket bits and pieces we can do. So we might look at some cams for the engine, an M50 manifold, stuff like that, to really wake the M52 up. And yeah, so you know, it shouldn't be too challenging at this point. We're not going too crazy. These are all fairly common mods to be doing to these, but you never know what you're going to get into once you get your teeth into it. So I expected I'd be able to just bolt a new head onto this, you know, and then just drive the vehicle essentially, but obviously the block had other ideas for me. So yeah, we've already invested a few quid, but nothing too crazy. I'll try and keep a track of the expenditure so you guys can see what I'm spending, and what it's costing me, and obviously any bits or pieces that I do buy as well, I will link in the description so you guys can see where I'm sourcing parts. Some stuff will come from my own collection of bits and pieces, some second hand, some will be new that I supply or source through my own business or my friends or contacts. So yeah, but I will give you a breakdown of that and try and be as transparent as possible. Obviously labour wise, you know, I can't put a cost on my labour. You know, my time is, I can't charge for my time, but yeah, there's nothing really with these cars that you need a specialist for. Obviously there's lots of bits that are much easier with a specialist, but you can crack on and get into them pretty simple. I mean, what do you need? A low profile jack and a Halfords toolkit, and you can probably undo 90% of the bolts on the car, and put them back together. So yeah, if you've not had one before, they're awesome little wicked cars to play with. If you have had one before, then you know what this is about and what I'm about to get into. Probably oily fingers from these power steering reservoir, because they love to leak, and other little headaches and lots of rust, but other than that, she should be pretty good. So yeah, keep watching and we'll get into it.